People, DG, I'm back again. Fridays equals Q&A days. As usual, you've come heavy with the questions via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. Regardless of how you get it in, just get it in the comment section of YouTube. No question is stupid, man. You lot know we've got the best footballing community out here, man. And thank you very much for your consistent questions, people. Without you lot, I say it every week, without you lot, I can't do it. I'm never going to be a sado making up questions. So let's crack on, man. Forgive me if I've mispronounced names, because some of you lot's usernames are very diverse, people. But DHEZ, I cannot say your name. Forgive me, my guy, man. I don't want to make a fool of myself any more than I do. But you said, what about bringing a Dharma from Wolves? Great super sub. I can't remember the video you commented that, but I think it's the Ryan Fraser one. I'd be up for a Dharma. I think a Dharma, like you said, good super sub. I feel a Dharma is one of them. Like, he can be, he frustrates me, positive frustrating, because he's got all the attributes to be a quality player. You see what I'm saying? He's quick, he's aggressive, he's a fullback. Adama is a fullback's nightmare, let's be honest. I'm a right back, or was a grassroots right back. You want to think I want to play against someone so physically fast and strong? No. He would be a top player, in my opinion, one of the top 10 in the world if he just had end products and could keep a cool head. And similar to Deluded to a degree, is why they're not quite Barcelona standard, or not quite kicking on. They don't get too many, well, Deluded does, but Adama doesn't get too many goals and assists consistently. His end product, generally, he's very good until he gets into the final third, and then it's either an under-hit pass, over-hit pass, dwelling on the ball. If he can get that out of his game, which he really should have now, he would not have been at Wolves. No disrespect to Wolves, because they're doing big things, but he wouldn't have been at Wolves and Middlesbrough and all of these sort of teams if he had that. So I'd be up for it. Of course, with what I've said, you'd have to get that out of his game, and I'd back Emery to do it, but you see what I'm saying? It's kind of, like I said, it's a great super sub, but in terms of trying to help him kick on to the next level, is it possible? I think it is, but I'd rather just go for other targets. But I'd be up for him, man, and he is someone I would consider, man. On the topic of what you said about great super sub, Nathan Glass has asked, Deluded, should we get Lloyd Kelly? I'm so sure I did a video on him. I can't even find it myself. I've still got it, but I'm so sure I uploaded it, people. Someone please get in the comments and tell me I've done that. If not, I'll reload it. For me, we should, man. He can play left back. He can play centre half. So sure he can play in midfield as well. Very good, very composed on the ball. Very good at bringing it out. Decent defender as well. And he's only going to improve. And I think he's one of them, whether it's him, Max Clark of Leeds, and a couple other examples. There's certain players that, for me, people will take a chance on in the Championship, from the Championship, sorry, and it'll be him. I think Harry Wilson will be going to the Premier League, whether it's on loan or permanently elsewhere from Liverpool, staying at Liverpool next season, because he could stay and play under Lampard, but for me, the Premier League is calling. So he's one of them. He's there that I think people will look at. Obviously, you've got the Max Aarons and all the Norwich guys, but yeah. Truth asked, who is a beast? I think I answered this one, but who is a beast of a box-to-box midfielder that is available and attainable for Arsenal to bring in this summer? Admittedly, my mind's gone blank since you said that, my guy. But a player I would actually like, it's unrealistic, but I would love to bring in Ndombele. When you said box-to-box, that's it, man. I would love to throw the bank at him, man. But there's a couple, man. You put me on the spot, my guy, man. You'd probably just have to go through my any videos I've made, to be fair with you. I know it's not really box to box, but I'd consider Telemans. I know he's on loan at Leicester. Surely that can't be the most expensive sort of fee. But hopefully that answers your question. Put me on the spot there, but I relish them sort of ones. Easy's asked, what do you think of Alexis Sanchez coming back to Arsenal? Hell no, my guy. He's up now. It's so true. The hottest loves have the coldest ends, because Alexis Sanchez, I ain't loved the player since Henry, give or take him a nozzle, but he really, you know them players that really galvanise you. I haven't had a player on the, and still don't, well, you can't see that was a fail, but I used to have no players on the back of my shirt. The last player I had was my last name and Thierry Henry. Then I got Alexis 7. I had to give the shirt away because he bust out, but never, man, never. He can't come back. He wanted the peas. I know he said he wants to go there because they want to win Premier League titles and things like that. United are 6th at the time of making this vid. Sold himself out for peace, so it's not possible, my guy. In hindsight, maybe, obviously looks us looking good in hindsight, but maybe he was always declining. I say this because I thought he was going to bang at United. He's Alexis Sanchez. I thought he's one of them guys. He wasn't in the best of form when he left, but it's Alexis Sanchez. Hailstones, summer, he's always Alexis Sanchez, isn't it? maybe in hindsight he was declining and he was kind of going, and I don't want to say Wenger knew it or the club knew it, but maybe on top of his wages as to why that was a kind of sort of iffy thing. And United are obviously paying the price, because how they move him on, I don't know, but yeah, I wouldn't sign him, man. I don't think we would have Aubameyang if we wouldn't have Aubameyang, in my opinion, if Alexis stayed, because of the whole movement and transfers around that period. But could you imagine Aubameyang, Alexis Sanchez in his prime, and Lacazette? It would be crazy. Ironically, we're crying for a winger. If it was the Arsenal Alexis Sanchez, of course I'll take him back. But once you snake it, man. He's done his thing, man. And I actually probably respect Van Persie more than Alexis Sanchez, purely because of the cowardly decision behind moving. At least Van Persie was a pagan and he went United, don't get it twisted, but at least he was keeping it true. He wanted to win league titles. He said Arsenal are corrupt, man. Alexis was just chatting a bag of nonsense and sold himself for peas. I get it, I respect it. He's got peas in it, can look after himself and his family in Chile, but boy, you've achieved a lot in football as well, but it's a sad end, man. Guys like McTominay are getting in the squad before you and that, but it is what it is, man. And you best mind out. You might be chilling with the under-23s. I hope that happens, man. Fuck Alexis Sanchez. To be fair with you, that's a lot of emotion coming from that sentence there. But hopefully that answers your question, my guy. Let me just delete the questions I've asked. God, it's bare. Getting confused. Antonio Bank, bruv. This guy is always here with the questions. Big up yourself, and I almost knocked down the phone. But you've asked. The agent of Leonardo Trossard said he had a phone call with an Arsenal representative and he offered his client to Arsenal. He said that Arsenal showed interest and they will keep eyes on him. Should we sign him? He looks promising. I've done a video on him, I'm sure. He looks decent, like you said, man. He's got good qualities, decent eye for goal. Just based on what you've said there, I think you got to read between the lines, bro. You said that he's called Arsenal's representative, so that's an agent trying to get his player removed. If he said that Arsenal are showing interest or monitoring him, there might be other clubs outside the top 6 or outside the top teams in the leagues that actually want him. They'll have to reconsider their approach, sort of thing. So I do think he's one to look at. I do think he could do a decent job. Admittedly, he's not my first choice, but yeah, man, we probably could do a lot worse, and he's probably the sort of profile we need to look at in terms of attainable targets. So good shout, my guy Antonio, man. George has asked, what do you think will happen with Denis Suarez, in brackets, seeing as he was signed because of width and he can provide plus his ball carrying skills. Plus he was signed because of the width he could provide plus his ball carrying skills. Yeah, man, you're bad at grammar like me, bro. But and you've also said, oh no, you've asked 2 questions. You need a comma, my done. Like, my grammar is rubbish. But no, banter aside, you've asked me what will happen with Denis Suarez. Personally, I actually thought we'd keep him on a permanent, man, similar to, because he's adjusting. Like, surely if it's a loan signing in January, you want to get the sort of money out of him or get your use out of him, especially considering Arsenal are broke. So I thought we was going to kind of keep him long term, because Emery's taking his time with him, like he's been doing with Leno and Torreira, and Guendouzi's probably the only exception that he thrown in straight away, and obviously Socrates. But yeah, man, he's probably just taking it. I thought he was taking his time to let him adapt, let him get to feel the league, eventually integrate him, and probably make him a permanent signing next season. I still, to a degree, think he'll be permanent. Admittedly, I'm starting to think he doesn't fancy him now. I don't want to say he doesn't fancy him, but maybe he's waiting to see something in training before he throws him in. There was also reports about his physicality and stuff. Emery and Denis Suarez quickly quashed that. But I think he's already been made permanent, but I'm starting to think he's going to return back to his club, my guy, man. Hopefully that answers your question. It's deep, because regardless of what you feel, if you feel he was an underwhelming talent or something like that, he hasn't really been given his chance to show what he can or can't do. Yeah, you've also asked, if we bring in a young winger with potential like Martinelli, Reiss Nelson also has to be thrown in as a possible candidate for the winger role, seeing his success with Hoffenheim. Yeah, I agree with that, to be fair. I would love to see Nelson back next season. I think people need to understand that, well, it's almost a good thing that his season hasn't been amazing, like he's flying, scoring 20,000 goals and coming back. Of course, I'd want that. But people can see that Reiss Nelson is human. Obviously, we've been around the block with many young players, and we will after Nelson. Nelson is not going to come back to finish the article. He's still developing. Look at his career appearances. He's played 16 times for Arsenal. I'm not sure how many appearances he has for Hoffenheim, but at a push, I'd probably say, you're touching 30, maybe 40 career appearances, maybe even less. You need 100 really before you can call yourself a professional footballer. He's still going to be hot and cold like he saw at Hoffenheim. Even if you, some of the games he scored and done quite well, and if you look beyond the hype and the 30-second clips that are put on Twitter by all these experts, you would see he was a bit hot and cold. He's still learning. So I think people would need to calm it down with Nelson. I think Nelson would do quite well. I love Reece Nelson, but there'll be games where he's on fire, he sets up a goal, he scores a brace, he does this. There'll be games he's anonymous. So we got to take our time with a lot of these players. Possibly he even could go back on loan next season just based on this year. But I really want Nelson to be involved in the first team next season. So I agree with you, my guy. George has asked, who would you pick between getting Nicolas Pepe or getting a winger like Barella? Two different players, my guy. If you're asking me, like, I can only have one, that's a tough one. I'm inclined. My brain is saying Barella. My heart is saying Pepe because we need that, man. He scores goals, and I think we need that. I want both, but if you had to press me and say, if you're asking me this question, like we only can bring in one in the summer, I'd obviously say Pepe, but Barella is also my guy, man. So I'll probably change when I finish this video. But thanks for your question. Ezra's asked, what do you think of Scoff? I've seen him linked with us, but mainly with Spurs. I was looking at his goal scoring stats, and he looks like he could be a cheap winger we need. I have a video on him, my guy, and it's going to get dropped very soon. Trust me, man. You lot put me onto him. Like, I've seen bit of clips and that, but you lot really made me deep that he could be decent. And yeah, man, he's decent. He's 22 years of age. Shown he can score goals, double figures for them things there. So he could be an interesting one, man. So I'll talk. Obviously, you'll see my thoughts in extended detail. But hopefully that answers you. Let's delete these questions. Juno Stimpsons asks, big up yourself. Deluded, my guy. Great video again. Can you do a video on what the plan is for Reece Nelson and Smith Rowe? I mean, will they get a chance next season? I think I've actually touched on this on a lot of videos, my guy, so I probably won't for a while. But for me personally, it's in the balance. It all depends with what we're doing. For me, I would bring Nelson in. Nelson's shown he can play on either flank. He's shown he can do his thing at fullback. You don't want him there. And he's shown he can play 10. So there's games to be had. In fact, there's even been games where we've needed something off the bench and Nelson could have been that. Smith Rowe, I'm inclined to believe he's going to stay at Leipzig for another season purely because he's gone out on loan. And he's already learning, like if you listen to his comments on the Arsenal videos and that, he's already learning, but he hasn't played and he's still injured and allegedly the club are in good dialogue. So maybe it could be a thing where Emil's out there right now, accumulate himself to the German way of living specific to that town, feel the club, feel the teammates. Obviously he's a young man living by himself, kind of adapt to that sort of stuff. And then next season, you do your thing at Leipzig and then you come back the following season, which would be 2021. I would love Emil to be involved here as well. I thought he would be the one Unai was going to bring in because he was there in pre-season. He was travelling away in the Premier League with us. He obviously scored in the Europa and made headwinds in regards to that. And then, yeah, man. But if he can develop playing week in, week out, and he can get assurances like Nelson that they can play week in, week out, and then Nketiah as well, I know you didn't ask me about him, but him into that case, then I would use them because they could all be utilised in the squad, but for Nelson especially for me, but their development could actually be harmed, but it could also be accelerated playing week in, week out, and to be honest, under 23 football isn't going to help them, so I would love all of them to be involved in the squad, training every week, doing what they can, and then obviously if they're playing and training well enough, Emery won't hesitate to throw them in. So if it's a thing like that, then I would love for them to be involved, my guy, man. So yeah, I think a lot depends on the depth, man, and if we're going to see a lot. Maybe Emils could get games as well. We know he came up as a winger. For me, he's probably best in the 10. He's being developed. I mean, I like him best at 10. He's being developed slowly into an 8, and he can play there and perform quite well. So he's probably the long-term replacement for Aaron Ramsey. So he possibly could get minutes next season. You just look at it, Ramsey might leave, Ozil might leave. That might kill all our creativity out the side. But you see gaps for Emil to get games. So I'd love Emil to stay here next season. But I personally think he's going to stay in Germany for another campaign. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, my dude, man. That might even just become the title of this, you know. So I'm going to put your question in red. That's what I do and give you a lot of free game, obviously. Sometimes I answer you lot's questions and I can't think of the title. So I'll use you lot's question. So yeah, man. Mr. Will Griggs asks, big up yourself, man. I ain't seen your name for a minute here, bro. You said, would you take Serie A Arsenal considering Fulham will get relegated? He's obviously asked me this question before yesterday. If you don't know, Fulham got relegated yesterday. But I would take Serie. I think he could complement the squad quite well. Yeah, I'll take him, to be fair. Yeah. Easiest question to answer. Yeah, my guy. Oh, look at the ring. Anyways, Gio the Best asked, why are you so high on Brandt? I haven't watched him much, but from what I've seen, I feel we can do better. I'd rather his teammate, Bailey. Bailey's sick. I would like Bailey equally. Bailey's Jamaican. Bailey's sick. I would like Bailey. The problem with Bailey is probably going to cost a pretty penny. If Brandt, a big reason as to why I'm high on Brandt, because I think he's a very good baller. He can play on either flank, and he can play in more central position like you've been seeing this campaign. His release clause is 24 million, bro. So if Arsenal are broke, someone costs 24 million that can fix an area we need, then surely that means other reserves can be palmed elsewhere, whether that's a central mid, whether that's a centre half, whether that's, regardless of, I don't know, but whatever Emery wants to bring in, 24 million for a player that's played at World Cups and done his thing, and it's actually quite a good player. You don't see too many deals like this, and the last one was probably Torreira and Guendouzi, and that's the sort of avenue we've got to go on. He also has resale value because of his age as well. I'm not saying he's the only target. That's one reason I'm high on him, by your own logic. Shout out to you for that question, man. And I'd encourage you to watch him a bit more before you make comments, my guy. But what else have we got? My guy, I don't know that username. It's just 2 underscores, I believe. Big up yourself. You said, what do you think of Eddie Nketiah, Joel Willock, Osei Tutu, and Amici going on loan to the same club, say Watford or Crystal Palace, for example? I would advocate, it would be cool to go to the same club. I don't think a club like Watford or Palace is going to throw them all in Premier League football and play them week in, week out, because it wouldn't be sensible. They would not achieve their targets with all of these kids being thrown in. And this is coming from someone who loves young players. So probably, maybe a German-based club, German league, would probably be able to do that, but I don't think any Premier League side, like you've said, 1, 2, 3, 4. You said 4 names. It's impossible. And in regards to the loan laws, I'm sure that's actually impossible for that to happen in regards to palming them all to another Premier League side. But yeah, I don't think that's possible. But yeah, it'd be cool. Obviously, we get onto Chelsea with Vitesse and stuff. But if you could find a German-based club, whether that's any of the clubs Mertesacker been chatting to, house our players there, it would make the adaptation period easier for them if they've got similar friends around them and similar teammates around them that are going through the same thing. Because going out alone, I guarantee you, Reece Nelson and Emery, they would have improved a lot, but there must have been periods that they felt real lonely, felt isolated, and them sort of things help you grow as a man and grow as a person. But at the same time, if some players don't necessarily grow from that, some players sink into a shell. So if you can have a togetherness thing, for instance, Eddie Nketiah and Willock are very good friends, or appear to be very good friends, that can motivate each other. So Amici, Willock, and Eddie Nketiah in particular, I'd them 3 names out of the 4 you said in particular, if they can go to Germany or play top league football and come back better players, I'd be all up for it, man, to answer your question. Tutu needs to go out and play football himself. So yeah, you've also asked me as well, provided we sign the latter on new deals and potentially offer them cash in addition to the loans. Well, I don't get that question, my guy, man. Secondly, providing we sign the latter on new deals and potentially offer them cash in addition to the loans to sign Wan-Bissaka or Doucouré, do you think that it could be worth it and beneficial? Doucouré, they rejected they rejected 50 million or something in the summer, allegedly. So it's not really something they're going to be at. You've seen the quotes for Wan-Bissaka as well. I get your angle, but if I was Palace, the only players I'd probably be trying to hear, I'd only be trying to hear Amici permanently because he's got potential. I wouldn't entertain Osei Tutu. Joel Willock's a bit. It depends, man. It depends. He's unproven, really and truly. As much as I like him, I'm looking at it from a Palace point of view. Is he necessarily going to boss your midfield? No. Maybe Eddie Nketiah and probably someone like an El Nene. If anything, someone like that would take the P's off, because these young players have a lot of potential, but when you're looking at stuff like that, I don't think it's possible, my guy, or feasible, and would be worth it, because like I said, the Wan-Bissaka's, they want 60, 70 million for him or something, and Doucouré is going for a pretty penny, so they wouldn't need to listen to that. So hopefully that answers your question, bro. Abilku Simpson, forgive me, I've messed up your name. Nice vid, Deluded. What do you think about the possibility of signing Yoshin Anderson? I think I've answered this question before, but I'm a fan of the Sampdoria centre half, so I'd be up for that. Abdul's asks, Deluded, do you think we should be targeting players who are Arsenal fans in the future? So many of these top players actually support the club. Alaba, Pitek, Vargas from Villiers. Also, just saw on Instagram that Florentina hotshot Shiza, I can never say his name even though I made a video on him, follows Bergkamp, Omri and Ozil, and even Robin van Persie. He's clearly a fan, or is at least very aware of Arsenal. They might even want to come with a bid if the money's decent. Well, obviously, if someone has been a fan or has admiration for Arsenal, like you see with Lacazette, he knew about Arsenal, the French connections. Obviously, things like that, not just for Arsenal, but other clubs, can give plus and minuses. But I think you're reading too much into that, my guy. I think fans are irrelevant. When you become a professional footballer, it doesn't matter if you was a fan at a club. You go to a club where you can either compete for trophies, compete for stuff, if it's not necessarily trophies, play games, or just other merits. I think the last thing, if I was a player, first and foremost, you want to think about the team philosophy, what the manager stands for, what they're trying to, them sort of things, then how you'd fit in, the ambitions of the club, what they're trying to achieve in the short and the long term. Absolutely no clue why it cut out there, people. Technology is a shag. But Abdul, I was answering your question. If you can remember the previous points, I'll mash these two vids together. But yeah, like I was saying, the last thing I'd want to really, being a fan of a club would be the last thing I, anyways, would be thinking about as a professional footballer. You first think of the club, the philosophies, the owners, what the owner's trying to achieve, the manager, what the manager's trying to do. So the philosophies, how the manager wants to fit you into the team, the other dynamic in terms of the squad depth. Because if I'm a fullback, think about it. If I go to a club where there's 2-3 fullbacks, right back specifically, I'm going to back myself because I've got talent. But am I going to play games? Would I not consider how I'd feature into the plans? Am I going to be a key player? Am I going to be a squad player? You'd probably think about the location of a club as well. Let's be honest. London's a big attraction for all the London clubs in the Premier League. You'd also have to think about the duration of the contract, the bonuses, the P's. All of these sort of things would be the things I'm thinking about. So the last thing I think any credible footballer will be thinking is, was I a fan of the club? Obviously, if you're in a situation where, I don't know, Arsenal and Chelsea, for instance, are neck and neck, they've both offered very good packages and different merits, and it will be an attractive offer. Obviously, if someone's now a fan of either Chelsea or Arsenal, them things there can tip the balance. But when you're a top sporting professional, it wouldn't make sense, my guy. That's just me. Thanks for the question, though. Iceman's asked, would you get rid of Mesut Ozil if it allowed us to sign Umtiti or Alaba or both? It's all like, that's for Emery to answer, to be fair with you, my guy. On the basis that Ozil appears to be allowed to leave, then I'm inclined to say yes, but that's for Emery to answer. That's a good question. I actually don't know how to answer that, because I'd say yes and no. To be fair, I'd say no, because I feel I want to keep Ozil, to be fair with you. But if no one's bigger than the club. If he has to leave, he has to leave. I want to say yes, because obviously if we was to get him TT, I know there's question marks over his injury issues and stuff, but centre half there, Alaba as well, like you said, were both a top left back and a top attacking fullback as well in Unai Emery's system, and a left-sided centre half that can play out from the back. So that could get the best out of Socrates, at least as long as Socrates is here for at least 2 seasons. So yeah, that would benefit, man. So I say yes and no. Ems asks, which has the better atmosphere, the Clock End or the North Bank? Well, for me, if I'm honest, I can't lie, the Emirates' atmosphere is pretty poor, man. It's rocking sometimes, but let's be honest. I prefer the North Bank, to be fair with you. I don't go to the Emirates every week, as you see, but when I do, I typically prefer the North Bank, but I don't think there's much difference. You'd have to ask one of them religious Donnies there, man. So yeah, Arsenal religious dons to answer that one. Nitros asks, what do you think of Edison Alvarez of Club America? Not really seen much to have an informed opinion, but I don't think much of him are based on what I've seen, man. But I'll do my research and get back to you. T Amazing asks, any thoughts on the recent 2019-20 CONCACAF Nation League draw? Is this a tournament you'll be following? Admittedly, I had no clue. Have I answered this question already? I'm not sure if I have, but admittedly, I had no clue about this until you've just said it, my guy. No clue on the draws and things like that. So I'm going to check it, man. But if it's the same Nations League similar to how it is in Europe, then it's going to be tasty, man. I want to see Jamaica versus Costa Rica or something. I want to see, yeah, man, it could be tasty, and I definitely will be following it now that you've put me onto it, my guy. Thank you very much. Strollers asks me, Scroller? Yeah, I think that's your name. Do you think Chambers is part of El Nene? How can El Nene be the manager? Do you think Chambers is in Emery's plans next season? It's a difficult one, man, because I thought he'd be in his plans at some capacity this year. He was talking him up in pre-season, new deal, then he went out on loan. Obviously, Chambers, Fulham have been terrible. They've been terrible. For me, they were the most terrible at the back of the start of the season. It didn't matter if it was Chambers and Mawson, Chambers at right back, Chambers at centre-half, what's that other one? Dennis Odoye, whatever his name is. Whoever is in Fosu Mensah, whoever is there, the back four was a myth. Was just terrible, innit, people? So he had issues. I think he's excelled at centre-half as Fulham and in some big games. I think he's bossed it in central midfield for Fulham as well. I think he's played quite well for Fulham, as he did at Middlesbrough. So I'd like to think he's in the plans. He's homegrown. He provides depth. He's shown he can play in central mid. He's shown he can play in centre-half. Don't advocate him at right-back, but yeah, he can show that sort of stuff. The thing for Chambers is he going to play games? He's at this. I think last season he was quite injured quite a lot, but I think he did quite well in the chances offered. I think he played well, if I remember rightly, against Chelsea, against Atletico Madrid. But he's at the age he needs to play football. Whether you believe in Chambers or not, if I'm Calum Chambers, I've come through from Southampton. I'm seeing Michael Keane, all of these guys get calls up to England squad. Southgate has managed me before. He knows what I can do. If I go somewhere, settle roots down, play football, possibly that could happen for me. And he's 23, turning 24, around them ages now. He needs to have a set similar to Bielik to a degree. Find a settled home rather than this loan stuff, this inconsistent playing sort of stuff. He needs to find a club that's going to play him week in, week out, or at least he has the opportunity to train and have the chance to do that week in, week out. He can't keep doing this loan stuff, this squad stuff, and admittedly, he needs to have honest words with Emery, and Emery has to have honest words with him, so they need to see where each other at, because if he's at Arsenal next season and he's training week in, week out with no realistic chance of playing, then it's a season wasted for him, to be fair with you. So maybe he's in his plans. You've also said, what's your thoughts on Craney from Fulham? Looks a tidy player, possibly a replacement for Ramsey. I think he's a good player, but I don't want him at my club. I don't think he's of the standard, to be fair. I'm always open to be proven wrong, but his performance in the Championship to the Premier League, complete contrast. He looked amazing and he looks quite anonymous. I really think he would not offer anything at this club beyond just being technically sound. He is quite anonymous, and he does, I want to say he plays cowardly, but he does kind of cower away when Fulham need people to get the fight to keep going on. Don't really want any more of them sort of players at my club, my guys. So yeah. Ghost has asked, would you take Samuel Chukwueze, I cannot say his name, but the 19-year-old at Villarreal? Of course, my guy. He's got a long way to go. He's still incredibly hot and cold, but we tried to sign him when he was 16. I feel we should, man. He played good against Barcelona the other day. I'm so sure he's played well against Real Madrid. Diamond in the rough, man, and these are the sort of profiles we need to go for. So, is that a trick question, my guy? Of course. But lastly, Tobias has asked, perhaps one for your Q&A. At what point would you say Unai Emery deserves a new contract, and how much would you bump his salary up to by in terms of years in salary? In regards to bumping up his contract in years and salary, I'm not a finance man. I'm not sure, my guy, but typically a 2-3 year deal sort of thing would be my thing. But at what point does he deserve a new deal? You probably need to see where we're shaping up the end of next season or moving in towards that stage. He's on the right track currently. Well, in fact, there's been movement now in the Premier League with obviously Chelsea and Spurs winning, but we were third. We've moved at no point of our own, so we're still in the shout for the top 4. Europa League, we got to get through Napoli, but there's still that. Regardless of what happens in them two positions, just focusing on what he's brought to the team, you can tell initially he was chopping and changing, at times unnecessarily in my opinion, but he's found the right balance. He's married together bravery with the defensive aspects. He's shown the willingness to improve us defensively. He just needs some better personnel to kind of kick forward. So this season at least there'll be no renewal. He's on the right track. He's bettered us in several incidences. For me anyway, set pieces, like as an Arsenal fan, I've actually got confidence defending set pieces and taking set pieces now. So it's a long way to go, man. Well, I don't want to draw any conclusions, but probably looking at, we'll probably have that in mind for next season, possibly the new year, so 2020. In regards to years, probably 2 years with an extension of a third or a rolling contract or something, because we've got to remember, man, we're in a day and age now. Ferguson and all of these guys are gone. I'm sure Unai Emery wants to win leagues and win major trophies at Arsenal, and he wants to. I wouldn't say he has to repair his reputation because he's still a boss manager and he did his thing, but there's idiots that will blast his time at PSG like it was a failure because he didn't win the Champions League despite winning other trophies. he can use Arsenal to kind of shut them idiots up if he brings us back into consistent top four, maybe even a title challenge. Who knows? But if he did all of that, would you and stuff like that, I think he'd be comfortable. But he is a Spanish guy. Like, surely any Spanish manager worth their weight in gold would love to manage either the Madrid clubs or Barcelona. And if you watched my video about Iggy and Balagay saying they're monitoring him, if they come, would you really say no? And also, if it's a thing with like Pochettino, where obviously Spurs get overstated a lot, but he's taking them to title challenges to a degree, and things. He's taking them all he can. He's improved players. He's got rid of players. He's taken Spurs all they can without significant investment to kick on to the next level. If he rebuilds the squad and rebuilds Arsenal and gets us back into a position from the abyss, and he isn't being backed by Stan Kroenke, and he's seeing people around him going on to do more competitive stuff, and he feels this twice as hard, then he might come calling if a bigger club moves. So I'm not too sure, man. You'd have to be something for Raul Sanllehi, Stan Kroenke, and all of them, man, they're involved in them sort of decisions to deal with. But yeah, for me anyways, man, people, this Q&A has been very enjoyable, man. Apologies for it cutting out. I'm going to mash together both of them, but yeah, man, thank you very much for the questions. It means the world, people. DG, I'm out.